Hi everyone, welcome to my review of the 1986 Jerry Paris film, Police Academy 3, Back in Training. Now, I've been reviewing, Police Academy films recently, and Police Academy 1 and 2. I rewatched, of course, and reviewed them recently on my channel, and I'm going to be, doing all of the Police Academies. I picked up the Blu-ray box set, and of course here's the Blu-rays here, so, the three of them, and I thought, I'd watch the rest of them on Blu-ray. Because I had the DVDs, of course, but yeah, just wanted to see it on Blu-ray. And yes, Police Academy 3. So the first three Police Academies, I used to love, and I don't have the highest hopes for the rest of them, when I rewatched them. But I was really looking forward to seeing 3 again, because that was one of my favourites as a kid, and I thought there was a lot of things that were a lot better than 2 basically, and I thought 2 was an average film. I thought the first Police Academy was truly a great comedy. I think it's one of the most underrated films of all time. And yes, so I went in and watched it today, and really liked it. Yes, because I was slightly disappointed with 2 in a way. At times, mainly the second half, but this was definitely a more of a worthy sequel, you could say, to the original, and it brings back loads of different things, some of the characters that were absent in 2, and just the academy, the actual academy that's not really into, the locations in 2 wasn't as good, and it didn't quite feel, it didn't have that, that feel that the first one did, through the actual academy. But yes, Police Academy 3, I thought, for the first 50 minutes, and even nearly the hour mark, I thought it was really good comedy, It took itself more seriously at times, in all the right places really than 2. But it also had, the comedy worked more as well, consistently. We'll talk about the first hour really. And you've got characters like Zed and Sweet Chuck are actually, they actually joined the academy in this one. And the original cast really are the ones that sort of train them up and stuff. So that was really great, the dynamics there. It was really great to see, as well. They called back a lot to the first and showed how much things had actually progressed since then. I thought in the second one really there was a lot that, it felt like they'd forgotten some of the relationships, like Hightower and Mahoney, as I've said, that happened in the first one. They bring all that back here really, and the characters actually feel like that they were properly friends, and stuff. It's got a warm feel really than the second one, and just the comedy works for the most part better than the second, and as well I found that the gang storyline in the second one wasn't very good. The story in this, the main things that happens in this is really the 2 different academies, kind of led by Mauser and Proctor, and then you've got Lassard as academy, and they kind of go at it throughout the film, and it just adds a really, great opportunities for loads of comedy and friction, but done in a funny way and stuff, and just the competition and stuff. It drives the film more and stuff, and you've not got this kind of weak storyline that the second one had, with the gangs and stuff, and Zed was the leader in the second one of the gang, the main gang that was in the film. He's in this one, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Zed in the second one, but he's a lot better here actually. He's still at times too over the top. I don't think he's ever going to be a character that's perfect. That I'll say is perfect, but in this, I think they really improved him. They made him more likable first of all, and just more of a warm character, and also just I think a lot of the comedy in this one worked more with him and the situations and stuff, and sometimes he goes so far, and because he's able to kind of pull it off at times, it's just it really does. You have to laugh really, because it's just so there's such a unique character. I know some of it is very a bit cheap at times, but other times it does generally work, and he's really actually the one that stays the most consistent throughout the film, really, you could say. And yeah, I just thought they've even improved Zed. They've even made him really good. And Sweet Chuck, I'm not. He's his roommate in the film. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he's better than he was in the second, you could say. But yes, all the other characters as well, they're kind of back on form. And Callahan as well is back in the film and stuff. And Mahoney, of course, he's still really good. Hightower, Tackleberry's not quite as good as he was in the first two. I'd say that. But most of the characters, as I say, are back on form. As well, I don't really like Hooks in this film. I must admit, she just goes way too over the top, and nothing really too interesting with her character. But yes, ones like Lassard and everyone, they're back on form, and they've got more memorable stuff, that's going on. And the main storyline is much better. It's more involving. It allows for more grounded comedy, because it's more, as well, the stuff at the academy, it just works so much better than the location in the second one. And just you've got some of the new characters as well that come in. It's a really enjoyable experience for the most part. And Mauser again and Proctor, I really love in this film, I must say. Some of my favourite stuff in the film comes from them, and the two guys that got, I can't remember their names, but the guys from the first one that got their heads shaved. Tell me in the comments who they are. If you know who I'm on about. They're back in this film. They're absent in two, and they're some of my favourite characters in the Police Academy. They were back and they were great. I don't believe they were in any other ones, but it was great to see them return. And they're more of the grounded characters in terms of the comedy, and it was brilliant that they returned. And just it just has it's better paced as well. There's more consistency, and stuff, and it's more grounded at times in the second, but also it's still hilarious at times. There is there is some occasions where the comedy just doesn't work. I feel it goes too over the top, or just simply, as well, just falls flat. It doesn't. It's not like bad, but it just doesn't really land, I don't think. But there's a great sense of camaraderie and stuff between the characters, and it's really good to see how the originals are training up the newcomers and stuff. I just thought it was really great. Film's directed well, apart from the final act, which I'll get onto in a minute. But it's edited well as well. The use of music is much better again in this one. The second one I thought was lacking the actual theme, the main theme. But yes, it's used a lot better here, and it's just a far more enjoyable film. A far more consistent film than the second. And I did enjoy the second, but I think this is really the only worthy sequel really to Police Academy 1. I don't think any other ones would be as good as this, and certainly not the last three films. I never really liked them ones, but yeah, it's just it's directed well, and just the characters once again. You've got loads of more memorable moments and stuff, and it's much more grounded again, and just the comedy works better than it did in the second consistently. I will say some flaws, of course, and of course some of the comedy doesn't always work, as I've said. There's a couple of moments that too over the top, but really the final act is what really lets it down from being very good, a very good comedy, because in the end I think it's good. But the final act, unfortunately, they don't follow through with this kind of this feud, this rivalry between the two academies. They kind of drop that off in the last 20 minutes. They bring in this gang again, and the leader is in the first Police Academy, I believe. He's one of the guys at the end of the riots. But and he was okay in it. But just the way they brought this gang in at the end, and I think they thought they had to end it on everyone just chasing the gang, like it wasn't the second one and the first. And it really, I don't think it had to end this way, because the last act is disappointing. A lot of it's not that good. It's pretty weak overall. The jet skis and everything, the way that's been put together, the action, very, very flat, and it just felt like there was no really real momentum to the action and the editing and stuff. And a lot of the comedy that went over the top came in this last act as well. The Bruce Lee parody stuff doesn't work for me in this film, really, and it just goes way over the board in the last act. The ending as well is very generic, I feel, and rushed. And this is a comedy; it doesn't have to take itself too seriously. But there is comedies, of course, that balance it perfectly, the drama and the comedy. But this one just feels like a throwaway ending. You know, it just kind of very, very rushed. It just goes from the final, the action scene straight to Lassard giving a speech and everything. Nothing of the first hour of the film, the actual main story and everything, is really wrapped up in a meaningful way. It's just kind of thrown off at the end, just cut off really. And some of the action as well throughout, could have been better edited. But really, the final act is what brings it down a lot, from being very good comedy to a good comedy. And the end result is a film that is really the only worthy Police Academy sequel, but it is good, and it's nothing more really. But I did really enjoy it, and I'd have to give this film a 76%. It is a good film for sure, and I really enjoyed it. This is more of a critical rating, of course. And as well, the final act really I didn't like too much, and it's a shame because I would have, given this an 80-something%, maybe around the 85 mark. You could have said, because I was really, really liking it, and it's just the final act really that brings it down, and a couple of things here and there that just don't land throughout the film, and of course it never really reaches a point that's great. There's a couple of things, here and there, but generally it's never really a great film, but it was a very good one until the final act. Which it's a good film. It is a good film, and of course it's underrated. 5.3 on IMDb. Negative scores and stuff. Metacritic. But yes, I think Police Academy 3 definitely a good film, and definitely recommend it. And this set as well, they're not all great, they're not all good, but definitely recommend that. So yes, thanks for watching my review of Police Academy 3 Back in Training.